Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining us. George Polyard here from ComOps. Great to have you all on our webinar today, where we have two great attendees and interviewees, guests with us that I'll introduce in just a moment. The topic today is how to transform your customer experience, which is a topic we are all excited to talk about. I'd first like to start by doing a couple of introductions here. Really excited to be joined by Greg DiVincent and Kami Best from Gila River Resorts and Casinos in Arizona. I want to express on behalf of ComOps and our partner Medallia just our appreciation for them joining us today. We've been excited to talk with them. I will just give a little background. ComOps is a Medallia partner that specializes in the hospitality and gaming industries, though certainly not exclusive to those two areas. And the reason that we are having this webinar today is that we relatively recently launched a comprehensive CX or customer experience program for the Gila River properties. And we felt that this was a good time to have them hop on a quick webinar and share some of the findings. So with that said, I would love if Greg and Kami, if you wouldn't mind just giving a quick intro, and then we'll get to some of the content.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Greg DiVincent. I'm the Corporate VP of Marketing here for Gila River Resorts and Casinos. And we'll get a little bit more into the company in a bit, but we're really excited to do this webinar.
Hello, everyone. My name's Kami Best. I'm the Learning and Development Manager, as well as overseeing our guest experience program here for Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Like Greg had mentioned and George, just super excited to be here with everyone to share what the service experience looks like, feels like, and the benefits that we've been able to gather.
Very well. Yes, thank you, Greg. Thanks, Kami. So let's start off here with just a little background here. Greg, if you wouldn't mind sharing with the listeners here today, can you give a little background on the Gila River tribe and their history with gaming?
Sure. Yeah, the Gila River Tribe has a vast history. It's literally been here for hundreds of years in this area. And we fast forward to more recent times of gaming and Indian gaming in the US and in Arizona. They opened their first casino in 1994. So about 30 years ago, we just last June celebrated our 30-year anniversary as a gaming enterprise. Very cool feat, and it's an ever growing and expanding company. I've only been here for about a year, but I've very quickly learned the history of our enterprise, and we now have grown into four casino properties, two with hotels. So there's our flagship, which is the Wild Horse Pass property, hotel, 446 rooms. Here at all of our properties, we have slots, tables, and then some we have either bingo or poker or various mixes. Our Vicuiva property has a 90-room hotel. And then there's Lone Butte, which is our facility with poker, slots and tables, local style casino, very accessible. And then the newest, which is Santan Mountain, which opened about a year and a half ago. And that's a very gorgeous, modern style casino, has the windows, brings the daylight in. It sits in a really beautiful natural vista with kind of the mountain and desert landscape in the background. So it was really pretty to bring that in. And just a spectacular place and a very different rendition on a casino than you would typically see.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, it's wow, in 30 years to go from no casino properties to four is actually astonishing and pretty amazing. So well done. And yeah, it's funny to hear about windows in a casino. That used to be such a taboo thing. And now there's a new property in Vegas, the Durango Casino, that has beautiful windows. And same thing, it changes the aesthetic, the vibe quite a bit. So thinking about the topic here at hand of a customer experience program. So Kami, in contrast to Greg, you've been at Gila River for a number of years and really are a big part of the culture itself in learning and development. And we've come to know that as we've gotten to know you and the team. Can you tell us, Kami, about why you ultimately decided to move forward with implementing this CX program?
Absolutely. So, George, I've been here with Gila River Resorts and Casinos for over 12 years. So, understanding the culture of one of our core values, which is exceptional guest service, I have been one of the biggest role models for that and leading this program for the last 8 years. And so, understanding obviously Exceptional service is a driving force of the success of our business and any organization, right? Being able to lead that was a crucial piece of our success. And so understanding how do we continue to shift the culture, guest service being a very exciting topic of conversation over the last 8 years since I took over leading this program, and needing to know what makes our guests remain loyal to us, right? What are they looking at? What are they looking for? And how does that trickle over into with the way that we deliver service? So understanding what CX programs can do for that process was really critical in being able to look at how do we move the needle. We know we have a strong program, but how do we continue to improve that process? And so looking at CX, that was something that was identified that as we move into our next phase of elevation of service, it would be critical to look for a CX program.
Kami, in my mind, you hit the nail on the head, and it's amazing. It's amazing to me the businesses out there who still don't listen to their customers. And I don't say that critically to anyone who isn't, but it can be very challenging. But so often we hear exactly that is we ask folks, what are you doing today to find out what your clients want? And they say, oh, we know, or we look at our online reviews, but they're not really asking their clients and their customers what they're looking for. Although it's simple, I think that's a really interesting motivation. So let me, Kami, dig in a little bit. So the program was launched a couple of months ago. As you think about the past few months and all of those signals that have come in from your customers, what are some of the things that you've learned? What are some of those initial insights? And how have you changed that service experience that you described as being so important at Gila River?
Absolutely. A lot. Many things come top of mind. I would think that it's important to call out. I know in our initial vetting conversations, George, I made a joke that I felt like you guys were living in my brain. Looking for a program that was comprehensive to be able to organize that and disseminate those different insights, in addition to what we had traditionally used as our methods of gathering data from our guests. There's been some incremental moves. So I think holistically from our guest service team, being able to increase our communication platform of understanding where this feedback's coming from, being able to utilize a visual method of delivery, and also being able to report on that and seeing trends so that we can make informed and educated decisions. And in addition to that, being able to recognize team members, because we have some incredible superstars, or what we call here at Gila River, moment makers, which are valuable team members. And so being able to recognize exceptional service on the spot, as well as being able to course correct in a very immediate, timely manner, was really critical for takeaways so far that we've seen as being able to really put that data to action. And we often can gather a lot of data, but a lot of organizations, I think, fall short because what do we do with that? We're not making actionable moves with the data that we're correcting or that we're acknowledging and recognizing. So being able to have something that gives us a more comprehensive method to deliver those different pieces of feedback has been amazing.
You touched on a lot of great points there that sometimes those visuals can be really helpful. Just, okay, let's look at how we've been trending. Is that line moving in the right direction? Or is it heading in the wrong direction? And maybe this is for both of you. I'm interested, are there any stories or insights or changes that came from this operationally for your actual end guest experience? Anything that came out as, oh, that's something we should change or whatnot?
I'll speak a little bit to just the process. When we launched this, and we've really only launched the CX program for going on a few months now, but the only way guests could communicate with us is, yes, they could grab a team member and complain to a team member directly or a manager or whatnot while they're on site. But after the fact, they had a question, or if they wanted to bring something to our attention, they'd have to go to the website, find the contact us form, fill out this contact us form, and voice their concerns. And I'll tell you, on that contact us form, about 50% of what comes through every week is people trying to sell us SEO products and make our website better. And right, it's just sales type things. They want to sell us new toilet paper and all this great stuff. So then we have to weed through that, find the guest contacts, and everything's text, right? So there's only qualitative information in there, no quantitative data. And by launching this program, it closes that feedback loop, because now when we run all these great programs and everything that we do to bring customers in, we get to now hear back from the customers that how their experience was. And it's not just by them going out and seeking a Google review or a contact us form on the website. It's we're pushing an email to them, and then making it very easy for them to have an outlet to voice their concerns or praise us, which actually happens much more than the complaints. It's really great to have evolved that process to something more than just a form or a phone call or a personal contact for a customer to be able to talk to us.
Yeah, Greg, I think what stands out to me about what you just said is that customers need a place to go. They need a place to
Exactly.
give their feedback. And if you don't give them that feedback or that place, if you don't direct them, where will they go? They'll go to TripAdvisor and Google and tell their friends and family, which you really can't prevent those things, of course, but by taking control of it, you then not only get that feedback for yourself, but you might eliminate some of those negative reviews getting out in public. With that said, so Greg, this is not a secret by any means, but this is not our first time working together. And I'm curious, both Kami and Greg, working with a partner, ComOps, and also a big name software provider. So many people might know the name Medallia. If you look through your emails, you probably have Medallia emails from Bank of America or Hertz Car Rentals or many of the big airlines, but you certainly don't have emails from ComOps. So I'm curious, what's the reason that you decided to utilize a partner in addition to that great software that is Medallia?
I think, Greg, I'll go ahead and kick us off with that one. I know
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
been
I want you
incredibly.
to kick it off, because you were the person before I was even here that was working with the group.
Obviously, in addition to the incredible functionality of what Medallia provides for gathering those key insights, there is I know you and I shared about this recently, George, is the internal service that ComOps has been able to deliver to us as a partner. And of course, for myself, we often, as Greg mentioned earlier, will get sales pitches from different organizations wanting to partner with us. And so being able to understand the genuine care of your own internal service that was extended to us during that conversation phase of being able to again drill down to see, will this platform allow us to elevate and improve our communication methods? As Greg mentioned, often we would get guests that would come to us, but we want to add that additional layer of hospitality of being like, I want to come to you. You are an
Mm.
incredible value to our business. You're the reason why we are able to operate, and we want to know about your experience. And so being able to have again, a comprehensive, in my opinion, ability to do that was really huge. And then as our partnership continued and we had that vetting process, is understanding that you guys are resident experts in gaming specifically, but of course, hospitality as a whole, and knowing that you live and breathe our business, which is not always found with different partners. And so being able to know that you have that expertise of what we face when it comes to challenges and different ways to elicit positive factors in our organization too. I think for me, that was really pivotal, is understanding that we have resident experts, that you are genuinely invested in the success of our organization. And me being so passionate about Gila River, I think it was like the perfect stars aligned, and it was
Mhm.
a beautiful combination.
Well, Kami, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think as well, it's for us, our focus is hospitality and even more specifically tribal gaming. And you get this great software, and then you also get a small team that can be really your partner in it. I appreciate you sharing that, Kami. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And my background with you guys really goes back to before ComOps was ComOps. I worked with Robert, the owner of the company, at Seminole Hard Rock, and when he created this company, I knew what great he did. I understood what he brought to the table, and that you guys are all operators, and
Mhm.
it's really important for operators of our nature. And we're probably not gonna pick up the phone and call Medallia and say, hey, how do we bring in a survey? It just typically doesn't work that way. So having that partner, someone who's worked in tribal gaming, someone who's been operators. I know you guys who have folks who work for both tribal and commercial gaming and other hospitality, non-gaming entities. And that we need that trust, right? We need that level of trust to know that someone's going to take us through the steps needed to get it implemented and not sell us a tech platform that is gonna be a paperweight. And not that Medallia would. I have no idea the service. I only know your service, but I have been sold tech platforms from other companies that there's just really no implementation plan, or you buy it and then you realize there's a couple of $100,000 implementation plan. And you guys were very upfront with what it would take to implement, and that was all disclosed upfront. And then you took us through the full phase of implementation, and not only here at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, but also at the last casino that I worked for. And I've seen it happen multiple times and flawless. And we thank you for that.
Yeah, and Greg, Kami, thank you for that sentiment. We appreciate that. And looking forward to future engagements and continuing this partnership over the years. With that said, let's get back into some of the Gila River findings. And Greg, so in your role at Gila River as the corporate VP of marketing, the loyalty program and your database are a critical part. And I think many people know that's such an important part of the casino business. Curious if you can share any learnings from the feedback of this CX program or otherwise about loyalty, and if that's changed anything in your approach.
Yeah, we as marketers, we like to change stuff. And we like to disrupt a bit. And what do? We run promotions, we run mail campaigns and email campaigns that are omni-channel marketing campaigns. We like to toy with offers and our segmentation. And it's the funny thing here is that these aren't really service as you would think in customer experience, but in a casino environment, it's what we do. These things, offers and promotions and entitlements and whatnot, are like our customers. It's probably the one thing they want besides to win. We have to make sure that we're doing what they approve of. And without this type of a closed loop system or feedback loop, I like to call it, like we get to hear the feedback in near real time, we don't know what our customers are thinking. So if we run a new promotion on a Tuesday when we think it maybe is a success because a lot of people came, but without a system like this to hear back the next day or 2-3 days later what they thought of it, but those surveys are going to flood in, and they're going to say, oh, this was great. You gave away a lot of money. There were lots of winners. Everybody had fun. Guest service was wonderful. Or you're going to hear, there were long lines and no one served us water and no one won money. And so we're able to hear, and not just from 10 people, right? We're able to hear at scale what the sentiment is and then make changes effectively on what our customers want and don't want from us. It's really important. And this isn't just loyalty, right? This can be, we implemented beverage service ordering on the slot machines. And I wish we had this system in place when we implemented that, because we've been able to hear that feedback in real time. But now moving forward, everything that we implement, and that's going to be whether it's on the loyalty side of things, marketing, slot machine moves on the floor, new games, things like that. That's a question in our survey. What's your favorite game and did we have it? And we're looking at that stuff to see what games don't we have. And then since we have 4 properties, we have a slightly different game mix at each of the 4 properties. So if someone is looking for a certain game, and we've seen this in our surveys, I have to drive to Wild Horse to play this game because you don't have it at Vicuiva, or you don't have the high limit version of this game at Vicuiva. So we can make those changes in real time and pass information on to the gaming team so that they can have a future plan to bring in the games that people want. We bring the promotions that our customers want and do what's best for us and for them. So that's plain and simple.
Greg, it's fascinating. It's such a simple idea, but it's hard to do. And it's simply bringing data into the conversation. Sometimes, and this goes back a little bit to what we talked about at the beginning of simply listening to your customers. But this is then saying, okay, we had this vacuum cleaner giveaway. What was our satisfaction after that giveaway versus the pots and pans giveaway or whatever it may be? That otherwise you're just relying on you're relying on kind of a gut feeling, whereas with a tool like Medallia, you can quite literally say, no, here's the data, or here's the statistic that's going to support my next decision or direction. And there's a lot of tools within Medallia to support that. So Interesting to hear how you're using that. So thinking about for a moment, Kami, on the learning and development side, from an organizational perspective, you have all this data now. You're getting this feedback, good and bad, about your team members, about your different properties. Thinking about some of the people that are listening here today might be thinking, okay, now what do I do? How do I get that data and that feedback into the hands of my staff? And so could you maybe share some of the mechanisms, and knowing that it's still early on in the maturity of this program, but what have you done so far to get that data out and get that feedback out so that your teams can act, can respond, can share, or even can recognize those positive comments as well?
Absolutely. So, George, is something that we've already begun. Of course, my team is leading, since we're still, as you mentioned, in the initial state of managing that feedback. So, my team currently is managing that and sharing those different pieces through a more effective communication channel to ensure that our key leadership team members are aware, again, of areas to improve upon, do course correct, bringing that into the loop of each of our properties general managers so that they have oversight of what the guests are saying and feeling and thinking. And in addition, partnering in as we're folding in additional key department heads, such as like beverage manager, complex manager, to name a couple, and really allowing them to take autonomy and accountability for really hearing what their guest experience is feeling like when guests come to visit their outlets, and understanding how that connects to the global experience that guests are having. Being able to share that out, partnering with them, allowing them to feel like they have that immediate data to be able to make driven decisions, right? So that's been something that we're continuously working towards, ensuring that our leaders and our team are informed of what guests are saying. Again, when we look at something, just one call out, a couple of things that came top of mind is being able to understand the hours of operations within a food and beverage outlet, and knowing staffing adjustments that needed to be made in critical hours based on those feedbacks. So that's been really insightful. And then also just beverage floor service and being able to make sure that we have an adequate amount of presence for that. And we've been able to identify those different shifts based on the feedback that we've been provided, and then working to ensure that those leaders are made aware and that they can take, again, immediate action to either recognize those team members that are exceptional, or again, make adjustments that need to be made to improve the experience for our guests.
Wow, Kami, I hadn't heard that before about the hours of operation. Sometimes in the CX space, it's a little tricky to identify tangible ROI, and maybe that's not exactly ROI, but what a great story of, okay, we heard from our guests that they want this venue open different hours. We made that change. Wow, that's having an impact on your experience too. And I also, it came to mind is you mentioned global, like that there's a global presence here, but with 4 properties, what's interesting to me is then those individual general managers can say, okay, what's my score for
Yeah.
X metric compared to my colleague's property, or even compared to Gila River as a whole. So often I think CX programs get a little caught up in benchmarking, right? But right
Yes.
there, Kami, what you just described, that's benchmarking against yourself, against your brand, essentially. So
And I
really
can promise you,
interesting.
George, I can promise you that competition is real. It exists.
I I believe it, and I hope it's healthy competition, right? That they're wanting to perform better than their other properties. Yeah, interesting, interesting. Greg and Kami, this has been a really great conversation. Let's just wrap up here with taking a look at the future. So this program, again, is quite new, but I'm curious, as you look at your program's future goals, objectives, or targets, expansions, etc., what do you see as maybe coming next, or how does this maybe play into your greater long-term strategy? And that can be for maybe both of you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. Some of the things that I would like to see next, the nearest term, is start to implement kind of the Medallia mobile app and the text analytics tool. I know we had to get a certain amount of data in the system before those work. So very excited to use those. I really think that
Mhm.
the text analytics tool, the nature of our survey does have some pretty robust comment boxes. That's really going to help us categorize and get some more relevant data out of it from what people are typing in. So we're really excited for that. And then longer term, like right now, we're only looking at players that have played with the card and then they get the survey the next day. So maybe implementing in hotel stays and having a way also for non-carded players to leave feedback, whether that's maybe a link on the website or kiosks around the property or whatever that those items might be. It'd be great to get all feedback. So that's what I'm most excited for next.
Greg, yeah, I think that it's funny, the unrated player, for those on the call that aren't familiar with that, it would be someone who doesn't have a loyalty card, just sits down at a slot machine or table game and just puts some money in. So you don't have a record necessarily of them. Yeah, can be a huge segment for businesses. And so I think working to identify how can we get them a vehicle to share their feedback, I think is important. So I think noted, Greg. We'll put a plan together for the future for that for you. Kami, what about from your standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition, of course, from the learning and development space, these different pieces of feedback and data are really critical as we continue to develop learning strategies for our team members and our leadership team. So being able to identify where are the areas we're doing really well in that we want to continuously reinforce, and where are the learning gaps that we may have identified that we need to teach to, so that again, we can shift the collective understanding of what we're expecting, what our expectations are as an organization for our team members to deliver that exceptional experience to our guests. So from a learning and development scope, that's definitely an exciting piece, and we're already collecting this data and sharing it with my L&D team to be able to build out future training sessions with our team members and our leadership. So again, those leaders can help coach and guide that expectation and role model what we're looking for their individual teams. So very excited for the future to be able to implement these key insights to continue to shift Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
Kami, what I like about that, I think about a team member who's maybe in your onboarding program, is that it gives a reason for why we're doing these things. We heard it from our guests. Our guests told us, hey, this is what we want. It's not just because of a standard from a company or whatever it may be. It's our guests want this service, so we're training on it. So very interesting. With that said, Kami and Greg, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate your partnership. We have a few minutes left, and we'll probably want to take about no more than 10 minutes just to be respectful of everyone's time for some Q&A. For those of you that are on the call, which there's a good chunk here of folks on the call, feel free to add any questions that you may have in the question box, and we will answer some of the questions. Perfect. So we have a question here that just came in. So I'll start with the first one here from Nathan. Thank you, Nathan. Is what challenges did you face when implementing the CX program, and how did you solve those? Great question.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'll go through the process of implementation. First, to answer your question, the biggest challenge and Kami may have a different challenge because we kind of worked on two different parallels here, but our biggest challenge was getting the data out of our loyalty system on a daily automation basis and moved up to the Medallia platform so it knows who to email and who to send the survey to. That and George will probably attest to that's probably one of the biggest challenges in every implementation they've done, just because it is a difficult piece to do. But really, it takes time for sure to develop the questionnaire, make sure it applies to your casino and really what you want to learn most. There's the ability later on to go and add ad hoc questions, but I think getting the questionnaire ironed out is a big piece of this. And then you'll make the email design. And George and the team will assist with all this. They'll have sample questionnaires and sample email designs, and they'll build out that whole piece of it. But it's really not until that data piece happens that you can actually go live, because you don't want to be manual where somebody has to go pull the data and upload it every day. That's not going to be fun for anyone. So that was our biggest challenge.
I would agree with Greg on that, and just folding out a little bit more on that part. I think just understanding we're a very highly regulated, secure organization and industry. And so knowing how much data that is critical to the success of the launch of the program can be shared with partners, that was definitely a learning experience, and working through ironing that out. I would say something to think about too as people are thinking about incorporating a CX program is allowing yourself enough time to connect with your key partners, such as IT, database, purchasing, whatever potential, it's unique to each organization, what potential hoops we have to jump through to ensure that we can make this a possibility. So thinking about really ensuring you have an adequate amount of planning time to vet through those different pieces. And then again, patience as you hit unexpected hurdles and rolling with the punch. We're very lucky to have a really skilled, talented group of folks within our IT security database crew. Greg's team's amazing. And so being able to partner with them and have resident experts to lean on with those different experiences, but definitely allowing yourself enough time to work through those unknowns.
I feel like there's not been a single implementation that I've been a part of, and I'm now up to, I don't know, maybe 40 plus, maybe 50, that there haven't been hiccups and problems. However, Greg, I want to tell you, I actually think casinos by and large are more well versed in their data than other businesses. And that's not to criticize other businesses, but the database factor of casinos is typically more robust and mature than other organizations because there's probably already direct mail or email marketing campaigns that use a player database of some type. But no, you're right. It always is a challenge here. So with that said, we have another question, and I think we'll maybe take one or possibly two more here. So how do you handle feedback from high stakes or VIP guests compared to general guests? Interesting question. Are guests valued differently?
Definitely. And we're doing case management on exactly that subject. When we set this up and in our data, that gets sent up to Medallia, we give some statistics for reporting purposes. The player's ADT, which is their average, their spend per day. And if you're a non-casino client, we give their loyalty tier, classification, or level. Some other things with city, their addresses from and whatnot. And that all helps in the reporting a good bit. But we also give if they're hosted or unhosted. If you're familiar with a casino host, that's a relationship person that is assigned to a player or a customer that's at a high worth level. So they're going to have a personal concierge to go through. So those hosted players are already assigned to high value players. So when they come into the Medallia system and it opens a case, if it's a hosted player, it goes to our player development team, and in particular that person's host. So they will be the person to call that customer back, versus if it's an unhosted player or a lower value player, it'll go to Kami's team, and she has a guest services team that will handle that case and email or call that customer back.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, it's a simple thing, but it's such a powerful capability and we often work with our clients on this, whether it's hospitality or not, is give us that additional data on your customer. Are they new or have they been a customer for a while? Are they particularly high value or not? And that all of those things can change how they interact in the system. We even have one casino client we work with where their top tier, which I think is their black loyalty tier, black card, any survey that comes in or online review that is tagged to that status goes right to the GM is the first person that sees that, so that then they can then distribute it to the right person. They can take action. They could respond themselves. So it's a really quite simple change, but really puts that feedback in the hands of the right person to act on it. So with that said, we're going to take one more question here, and this is from Sophia, and that is, how did you get your team on board and excited about launching the CX program? I'm sure, Kami, you probably have some thoughts about this one, but yeah, how did everyone get excited?
I think keeping the conversation at a forefront and getting them amplified, that is one of my passion points. I'm very high energy, and many of my team members, I know many of them possess that same characteristic. And I think just having them understand the value, as mentioned earlier, when we get feedback, in my time here, I often will thank guests for their feedback, whether it is, of course, constructive or praising in areas that we're doing really well. It's a gift, in my opinion. And so just sharing that with the team members and then helping them to understand that feedback is productive because it helps us understand where we are doing really well, and it helps us understand where we need to, again, course correct. And so both of those things are equally a positive, in my opinion, because if you don't know where you're missing a step, you can't fix it. And if guests don't tell us about that, how do we get better? And I think everyone, as a lifelong learner, as we all should be pursuing that thought process. Like, how do we get better? How do we make our organization better? And then the benefits to them, of course, we have different recognition programs that are built and being built out even to expand upon that will really recognize and reward those team members that are delivering on that expectation. So just really helping them understand what's in it for them, the benefit for them, and equally understanding that we have an expectation and that we're held accountable, and we absolutely want to make sure that they experience the first rather than the latter, but that of course there is accountability and we have expectations that have to be met. So I think it's really important to just educate, inform, and share out what the benefit is to them, and you'll get that buy-in time and time again.
And I'll be real short. Make sure that once this launches, that the dashboards are shared out. Grab screenshots of it, send it out to senior leadership, send it out to property GMs or management teams. Just make sure they may or may not always log into the programs, but if you keep sharing out all this information, it gets fun and competitive, especially with multiple properties. So just if you're constantly pushing it out for them to see, just like you would other reports, people are going to stay engaged. So I think that's a simple win there.
I think two really good points to end on there. I think from both of you, I heard it's a bit about the old Danny Meyer phrase, constant gentle pressure, that you're always reminding them. Kami, in your case, hey, this program's coming up. And then Greg, in your case, hey, here's the data that we've been seeing a little bit every time. And then Kami, you said something awesome. You said feedback is a gift, right? This is, at the end of the day, the purpose of these programs is to improve the guest experience so people come back, people are happy, both employees, team members, and also guests, so that at the end of the day, the business, the tribe continues to prosper. So I think that is a great note to end on, and we're right at about 45 minutes. So again, Kami and Greg, thank you very much for your partnership. Thank you for your time today. I had the pleasure of visiting the property about a year and a half ago, but I hope to get back and maybe to see the newest property with those great views and windows. And for everyone that has joined us, thank you very much for your time today. To reach out to our team, here is a bit of contact information, comops.com, and of course, ComOps on LinkedIn. And again, thank you everyone for your time, and have a great day.